the summer leading up to the executive producer retreat in Cincinnati flew by. And before I knew it, I was driving south on I-75 and realized I had a list of people to meet in the lobby of the hotel and then drive to the dinner with Beth and Sarah. But I had no idea what any of them looked like. This moment of slight panic was soon completely resolved, because Sarah, Beth, Elise, and Maggie have cultivated not just a podcast, but a community. We all had the shared language of the podcast. We all care deeply about the kinds of conversations Sarah and Beth have modeled for the past decade. And to really put the cherry on top, EP Christy Matthews organized a collection of activities, restaurants, and experiences that were a fantastic introduction to a city I knew nothing about. The EPs now have a WhatsApp chat entitled The Group Chat God Intended that contains many subgroups, like Let's Tackle the Hard Stuff, and we continue here to carry on conversations we started in July. We support each other through not only the news, but family things, childcare advice, local shout-outs, meetups, and so much more. I am thankful every day for the greater community of all of the supporters of Pantsuit Politics, but being an executive producer for them is bringing me hope and joy every day in a time when that feels like a priceless gift.
Yesterday, Americans voted in elections. I'm eager to talk with Sarah about those results, but before then, we have more to say. Ellen is back with me.
Hello. We're actually recording this on the same day we record the last More to Say.
Ellen, don't pull back the curtain all the way, my friend. We have more to say about whether the voting age should be lowered to invite more kids into the process.
Wow. But not my age, sadly. I make such good decisions about absolutely nothing that I understand.
What do you think is your best area of decision making? Where are you great at making decisions?
I'm really bad at making decisions, but I'm best at making decisions on what snack to have after school.
Why do you think you're bad at making decisions?
Sometimes I make not very good decisions, like with my time, and then sometimes I just I don't know what to wear or something.
What helps you when you're stuck trying to make a good decision?
Sometimes I ask the Alexa, what should I wear today?
Oh my gosh, Ellen, please don't ask the Alexa to help you make decisions. What do you think are the components, though, of being able to make a good decision? Like voting is a big decision. What do you think you need to know to make a good decision when you vote?
You need to know what you're voting for. You need to know how the people are going to be in charge. When they're in power, if they're going to be a good person or a bad person.
That's so hard too. So I feel like you have this experience with teachers sometimes. You don't really know what a teacher's going to be like until you're in the teacher's class.
Yeah.
So how do you always think about who do I hope I get next year? How do you think about that? What helps inform the way you see those people, even though you don't know how they're going to be as teachers for real?
Well, because I have some friends who are older than me.
Yeah.
And they tell me about the teachers they had and whether I either don't want this teacher or I do want this teacher.
Ellen, that's pretty much how people vote.
Oh.
We try to listen to other people who know them, who've worked with them. We look at what they've done before this. We try to make our best guess about, do they seem nice? Do they seem smart? Do they seem like they're going to try really hard at this job? But it's always just a guess because you don't know until somebody's in the seat what they're going to do. You are going to have to make some decisions over the next couple days. We are recording early because you and I are about to go on a little retreat. Do you want to tell people what we're doing?
Well, I don't really know what we're doing.
Well, our church is one of 12 churches who got a grant to think about how to have kids more involved in leading worship services, which is something you've complained about before, right? That worship services are boring.
Boring and none of the kids even understand it. Like, we're just so bored. We're just sitting in our seats.
Yeah, and nobody wants that. We don't want worship to feel like that for you. We want it to be a time that sharpens your saw, just like it sharpens our saws. So this retreat is for those 12 churches to come together and think about how kids can lead. And so you're going to be one of the leaders thinking about that, which will involve a lot of decisions.
Mm-hmm. So I'm probably going to be kind of bad at it.
I don't think so at all.
Well, I do, though.
Because making decisions, in addition to understanding what you're making decisions about, is about creativity and problem solving and planning and having big ideas and being confident. And you are great at all those things. So I think you've got this. I am dreading a little bit that we are going to have to sleep in bunk beds in a big room with lots of other people.
Yeah.
But other than that, I'm going to try to have...
Is it like a just girls cabin and then a just boys
No,
cabin?
we're going to be with all kinds of people.
It's going to smell bad.
It'll be okay. It's just a couple days, but we're going to make the most of it. We're going to have a good time, I think. But we're thinking about kids having more control for the next few days, and that matches the theme of today's More to Say episode, because there are efforts, quiet ones for the most part, but there are a number of people thinking maybe kids should be able to vote at age 16. And so Sarah and I had the chance to sit down with a couple people working on that at Common Cause. Jasmine Abney and Nyla Hankins are here. We'll let them introduce themselves. But here is this conversation that Sarah and I had with Jasmine and Nyla.
Hello, Nyla and Jasmine. Welcome to Pantsuit Politics.
Hi, thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Tell our listeners your role at Common Cause. Roles. Jasmine, you start.
I am the HBCU and Campus Program Manager in our North Carolina office, and I get to work with students across North Carolina at our historically Black colleges and universities.
What about you, Nyla?
I started off as a Democracy Fellow my sophomore year, and now I'm my senior year at North Carolina A&T, and I am a communications intern.
Well, we're really excited about Common Cause's work on the voting age. I have young kids. I'm embarrassed. I have a 16-year-old, in fact, and I had not heard much about this campaign and push to lower the voting age to 16. Tell us about it. Jasmine, you go ahead and start.
I'll share in just saying, Common Cause is a really long kind of history in doing this part of our youth engagement work, starting way back in the 70s with the 26th Amendment and lowering the voting age from 21 to 18. And I think in our current work, it looks a lot more like just expanding voting rights and talking about that across the board. And also raising the fact that young people are interested and are engaged. And so while we're not writing legislation, right, to hit Capitol Hill, we are uplifting the John Lewis Voting Rights Act and having those really deep conversations about the ways that young people want to engage in politics and in government, and also uplifting that it doesn't start at 18.
Right.
And we're doing a disservice by starting at 18.
So true.
Nyla, can you talk a little bit from your perspective about the voting age and how you see it?
Well, now I just see that the youth, especially after getting involved with Common Cause, people are really interested. And when it comes to lowering the voting age, it makes sense considering that even at 16, we start putting adult responsibilities on younger people. So it feels right to also give them the right.
Yeah, that's so true. I thought it was so interesting in some of y'all's research and advocacy. You just talk about that it's a habit, and the earlier you can build that habit of voting, the better. And I think, Jasmine, your point is so interesting that it's not like everybody just wakes up at 18 and thinks, I'll pay attention to politics now that I can officially vote. Like my oldest son, the 16-year-old, has been really interested in politics from a really young age. So what have you seen as, because there's sort of like a patchwork of where this is rolled out, right? Especially around local races. What have y'all seen with that?
Absolutely. So just flagging, right? I work with college students mostly, right? And their reasons why have never started once they hit their college campus. And funnily enough, so many of the reasons that kind of segue into an interest of politics, like, of course, we saw mom and dad do it. Of course, we've seen the news, but also like they started driving and they had questions about why the DMV functioned the way it does, or they had questions about
Right.
speed limits and why police pull them over the way that they do, or why people are not more aware of their rights, right? Like when they're pulled over, and like why they have to learn that from social media. And they have questions. I remember I started working at 15 as a lifeguard and getting a paycheck and wondering like where all these deductions were going, right? Like I was totally fine paying the taxes and I was totally fine with being a part of the community, but also wanted to have a say in like how the community was served by these dollars. And a lot of young people that we work with have similar thoughts, right? And so for us, in the work that we're doing and connecting, like we're seeing young people kind of doing the organizing around these ideas, right? And like plugging into protests, right? And know that that's really valuable to transition them to what a lot of a lot of our representation, whether it be in the city council or a mayor or on Capitol Hill or in our state legislature, feels to be the most important marker of political participation in a community. And especially at a time, North Carolina has many major cities experiencing municipal elections right now. Young people could really change the game as far as like political participation across communities, because we're seeing really low turnout, admittedly, right?
Right.
I know that some cities are only seeing like 15% turnout. I know that in some primary elections, we're seeing voting age population turnout of like 5%. And so those 5% of people are going to determine who your mayor is. They're going to determine who your sheriff is. And it is important for young people to be able to change their community, not just because there's low turnout, but like because there is low turnout, right? And we know that like clearly folks who have that power are not excited about it, but these young folks are doing the organizing, they're doing the advocacy on social media, they are listening to the podcasts, and they're informing themselves. And so they should be able to take it up a notch.
I had a little birthday dinner for my husband last night. So intergenerational group of people around my dining room table. And I knew we were having this conversation today. And I said, hey, I just wonder how you all feel about lowering the voting age. And it was really fascinating to me that a consensus kind of seemed to be, oof, if we had some way to assess like knowledge and maturity, I would feel better about this. And the more I've thought about it, the more I've thought like the younger people are the ones who would ace that. Like you're in this moment in life where you do have more time and space and incentives and resources to dig deep on issues. Where did I have some of my best conversations about life? It was on a college campus. So I just wonder, what issues you think really bubble to the surface and animate the kinds of students who are interested in seeing this legislation right now.
To go back on what you were talking about with assessing knowledge and maturity and all that, when I was researching and looking into it, it was very interesting to see that last year they did that. They tested political knowledge on American citizens. I think it was 2,000 people they assessed, and around 70% of them failed.
Woo.
And if that was the requirement, we wouldn't be so focused on age. We would be testing everybody to see if they vote. And I know people would really be upset by that part. And it's very interesting to see, especially with people 16 through 18 currently in school, or 18 through early 20s in college, learning about this. Like like you said, it's a current topic that we're talking about in class and with our friends. And with the build on social media, it's everywhere on social media.
Right.
It's talked about almost every day. There's new stuff posted every week.
And I'm interested, like, when do you feel like, was it that first interaction with our civic processes through like getting your license or working your first job? Because it does seem like putting a pause in that first moment of engagement could lead to people sort of turning away from the process. Whereas if you can get them when they're first engaged in the process, you can build that habit, you can increase civic participation. When do you feel like you really started paying attention?
Early high school, in all honesty, is when I started paying attention to politics, because I was thinking about, oh, I'm going to go to college. I need to understand my career and I want to be involved in politics and I got to research. And then especially with how our presidency was then, and how it is now. It was a huge topic. Everybody was talking about it. It was posted on TikTok, funny moments, right?
Right.
And getting involved with Common Cause just branched it out even further for me. So when I talk about it with my friends, they're like, wait, huh? And then they research, and they see how it is. And I have my younger sister too, who seems to be very involved, and she wants to get to know more about it.
Jasmine, I really sat up straighter when you mentioned that the voting age was lowered once before. So I think that a lot of times it feels like things as they are in my experience are set in stone and have always been. I wonder if you could talk a little bit about that and how it informs Common Cause's work in general.
Absolutely. I think the most important thing for our work at Common Cause is we're always looking at the society around us and thinking, how can this be supported through legislation? How can this be supported through government action? How can this be supported in our systems and processes? And again, like we are like on social media seeing young people make the videos. Like they are not just watching them, they are making them. They are asking the questions. And I think that that really informs and encourages us to be like, yes, this is actual change that needs to happen. And seeing it happen in localities across the country, I think is a real point of encouragement, right? Because in different localities in Maryland, in California, in New Jersey, where young people are allowed mostly to vote in school board races, there has been no negative change to those elections. There has been no negative outcome. And I think you asked a question earlier, and just to like, or you posed a little bit, Beth, when you were talking about your dinner table and the folks being like, I don't know, we've got to test them. We have to remember that like we are also voters and nobody is testing us. And that we have come from a place where folks were tested and it only made our country worse. And that giving people real information about systems and practices and giving them access to like be a part of the thing will only make our nation better. I think that is the practice that we have to work with. Like people being a part of the process is good. Like that is good.
Yeah, I just don't see the risk. I mean, what's the risk? That's what I can't really find anybody articulating an actual risk of inviting more people to participate in the process. And I do really think there's a risk of like asking people to push the snooze button. Like you get into high school, you start thinking about adulthood, you get a license, you start participating in employment or other civic processes. And then we're just like, just press the snooze and hope that keeps up and you keep paying attention 2 years later and decide to vote when you're like maybe moving for college. Like it does seem like a really beneficial thing to help people build this habit and start getting into the habit when they have some stability in their lives and they're at home going to high school paying attention, as opposed to, oh, let's wait till you're 18 when things are really starting to shake up and you're paying attention to all kinds of things for the first time. By the way, let's add voting. I don't know. It just doesn't make a lot of sense to me.
I feel like that's because a lot of people just underestimate the youth, right? Instead of seeing it for how it actually is. Because on our end, and for people younger than me, we already reached the age where we could reasonably make decisions, right? And then some people might guess like, oh, they're just following their parents. It was stated earlier, right? But yet again, everybody's influenced by the environment and the people around them.
Right.
Whatever argument there is against it, it doesn't add up logically for how it actually is.
I think so often we like say in this work, if we do not get them now, then we won't get them again until after they retire. And we literally cannot afford 60 or 70 or who knows how many years by the time we get there, right? It'll be, but we can't afford for folks to check out for that long. And when they're getting to a campus and literally everything in their world is new, from the food they're eating to the trees they're seeing every day, from being away from home. Like everything is different when you get to your college campus. And typically it's a whole lot of good, right? But it's a whole lot of different. The last thing you want is someone coming to you and asking you to put the last four of your social on a voter registration form, and you've never seen it before, and you know nothing about this community other than what you've seen maybe in a PowerPoint presentation or when you stop for gas. And you're just really not prepared to kind of enter there. And so giving folks a couple of years to acclimate to that process and be confident and aware before they make big life-changing decisions like where they're going to go to college or what they want to do with the rest of their lives can only be a net positive for individuals and I think for our communities too.
Well, I'm convinced.
Well, we're talking a lot in the context of college, but I think if you lift it out of that context it almost makes a more compelling case because the people who don't go on to college, who typically step right into work, are even more in the position of having to shoulder those adult responsibilities and being expected to take on the benefits and the burdens of their communities in a pretty intense way. Has there been a lot of discussion about this outside the context of college for young people?
I think for our work specifically, no. However, what we do know about young people who don't go to college is that they get to engage with parts of our community more frequently than like older adults do, or maybe little kids do, or maybe people who are going off to college do. If we're thinking about like our public libraries and our parks in our communities that they like might be spending real time at. If we think about job training programs that they might be interested in that like the college kids might not be thinking about. And we can even consider like our transportation and our roads and the ways that we might engage with them. They might have time to be on a motorcycle that they've been building since they were 16 and kind of seeing the ways our roads are unsafe, and really being able to like lobby and rally around those things. And I think that there again is nothing but a net positive. I think also one of the huge complaints that I hear quite often is that the people who are running from offices aren't from those places. And I think allowing young people to vote a little earlier, college educated or not, will make them feel a lot more comfortable leading also. And so then we get a more diverse group of voices who are sitting on our city councils, who are sitting on our county commissions, who are running for our state legislatures. And I think that is just chef's kiss.
So if people are convinced, like me, how can they get involved with Common Cause and this work, or even Common Cause's broader pro-democracy reforms?
Absolutely. So because I know people all across the country are going to hear this, just go to commoncause.org. Click your state, read a little bit about our national work, but also plug into your state, right? There are petitions, there are volunteer opportunities, there are opportunities to attend events, to rally together, ask those questions that you maybe can't ask a neighbor all the time, but also an opportunity to invite a neighbor to come learn with you. I think that's a great starting point for folks. I think social media is also a great place to plug in and to see more of what we're doing. I know that in North Carolina, we make a real effort to be all across the state, whether you're at the top of a mountain or you're in the middle of the state in the Piedmont, or you're on a college campus, or you're outside in your garden, doesn't matter. We want to be there with you. And so I definitely would say, go to the website, go to social media and see what's available nearest you. There's always a petition if you're on our listserv. And of course, you can donate too.
Great. Thank you so much, you guys.
Thank you both. Okay, Ellen, what do you think? If you had to decide right now, should kids vote at age 16 or wait till 18, what would you decide?
Well, it kind of depends, like, how politically smart the 16-year-olds are.
Yeah, that's really tough.
I think maybe, like, if they want to vote, then they can. I don't think they should be forced to vote. Because, like, some 16-year-olds don't know much about what's happening in the world. Mostly just know about football and video games and stuff like that.
This is the problem with voting, though. You kind of have to be all or nothing. Like, you can vote or you can't vote. Because when we have started putting tests on people to see if they should vote, that's gone really bad in the past. Yeah. So you kind of have to make one rule for everybody. But no one has to vote in the United States. It's not mandatory. You can decide not to show up if you don't want to.
Then, honestly, I just don't know.
You don't know. It's a tough one. But I think that Jasmine and Nyla make some really good points, and I'm interested to hear what everybody here thinks about it. Ellen, thank you for joining me for More to Say this week. Thank you for going on retreat with me. Thank you for generally just being the best.
You're welcome.
All right.
I know I'm just the best.
You're the best. All the time.
It's kind of hard sometimes.
You know who else is the best?
Who?
You don't have to do anything to be the best. You are the best because you're you. Also the best are the people who listen to More to Say and Pantsuit Politics. We appreciate them so much. We tell everybody to have the best week available to them.
Have the best week available to you.